You're about to hear the story of the most dangerous wine ever made. A wine that exists in a place where making it should be impossible. A wine that has survived war, destruction, and chaos. This is the story of Bargylus, a wine made in the middle of a war zone. Most vineyards are in peaceful, beautiful places. Rolling green hills in France, sunny valleys in Italy, vast open lands in Spain. But Bargylus? It grows in Syria, a country torn apart by war. Syria is an ancient land. Thousands of years ago, it was a thriving center of civilization. Great empires rose and fell here. The Phoenicians traded purple dye and wine across the Mediterranean. The Romans built temples and roads. The Byzantines cultivated olives and grapes. Wine has flowed through this land for over 3,000 years, long before Bordeaux became famous, before Napa Valley was planted, even before Champagne's bubbles fizzed to life. People here were crushing grapes and fermenting them into something magical. But time, conquest, and shifting politics nearly erased Syria's winemaking tradition. By the 20th century, the country's wine culture had faded. What remained were state-run wineries producing sweet, mass-market bottles that never left the region. Then came Karim and Sandro Saadé, two brothers who decided to rewrite history. The Saadé family's roots stretched deep into Syria's soil, though they had moved to Lebanon decades earlier. Their father, Johnny Saadé, was a visionary businessman who built a real estate empire in Beirut during Lebanon's civil war. He believed in taking risks, even in chaos. In the early 2000s, Johnny turned his attention to Syria. He dreamed of reviving its forgotten winemaking legacy. If the Romans could do it here, why can't we? That's what he would have told his sons. He bought land in the Jebel al-Ansariya mountains, near the ancient port city of Latakia. The location was perfect for winemaking. The soil was rich in limestone, giving the grapes a distinct minerality. The cool mountain air slowed ripening, allowing the acidity and sweetness to balance perfectly. And the Mediterranean climate, with its sunny days and cool nights, mirrored the conditions of France's Rhone Valley, one of the world's finest wine regions. The brothers named the vineyard Bargylus, after the ancient Greek term for the region. They planted Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Chardonnay, and Sauvignon Blanc. For a few years, things went smoothly. The vines took root. The first vintages, crafted with guidance from French winemaking guru Stéphane Dernancourt, began turning heads. Critics praised the red's bold, spicy depth and the white's crisp elegance. Then, in 2011, Syria's civil war erupted. The war transformed Syria into a nightmare. Cities like Aleppo and Homs became rubble. Roads vanished under checkpoints and barricades. Millions fled. Bombs fell daily. Most foreign businesses fled. The Saadé brothers did not stay in Syria. They managed Domaine de Bargylus from Beirut, Lebanon, due to the dangers posed by the ongoing conflict in Syria. Their team of local workers stayed behind to maintain the vineyard. Many of these workers had nowhere else to go and relied on their work at Bargylus for their livelihoods. Every decision, from pruning to harvesting and blending, was made remotely through communication with the Saadé brothers in Beirut. The Syrian team would send updates about the grape's condition. For instance, they might report that the Syrah grapes are purple but still firm. In response, Karim or Sandro would instruct them to send a sample for tasting. During harvest time, grape samples were packed into refrigerated bags and sent across the border to Beirut every 2 to 3 days. Once received, these samples were tasted by the brothers or their consulate Stéphane Dernancourt. Based on these tastings, decisions about when to harvest each plot were made. The workers would also taste grapes directly in Syria and describe their flavors over phone or email. This hands-on approach allowed them to assess ripeness closely before relaying instructions back from Beirut. Despite logistical challenges posed by war and distance, this method enabled Domaine de Bargylus to continue producing high-quality wines under difficult circumstances. In 2013, mortar shells struck the vineyard. A row of Chardonnay vines exploded into splinters. Later, it was mentioned that they had lost part of the harvest that day, but what mattered most was that no one was hurt. Harvest season became a life-or-death ritual. Each year, a box of grapes embarks on a treacherous journey. Packed on ice, it travels 125 miles from Bargylus Vineyard near Latakia, Syria, to Beirut, Lebanon. a 5-hour trip through bomb-scarred roads and unpredictable checkpoints. The journey isn't always straightforward. Taxi shuttle back and forth, some drivers refusing the job, others demanding extra pay. But there's no other option. In Beirut, Karim and Sandro Saadé wait. For 6 years, this is how they've decided when to harvest, unable to return to the vineyard due to the ongoing conflict. They rely on these grapes to make crucial decisions. Too tart? Too ripe? They taste and text back. Pick the Merlot now. Hold off on the Syrah. Back at the vineyard, workers move quickly. The harvested grapes are taken to a converted warehouse in Latakia, where they begin fermentation in French oak barrels. Power outages were constant, and gunfire was a familiar background noise. Some nights, the workers sleep on the floor, knowing that the war outside never truly stops. Bottling the wine was only half the battle. Getting it out of Syria, nearly impossible. Roads are controlled by various groups, including soldiers, rebels, and gangs. Truck drivers often face a significant risk when transporting goods through these areas. In some cases, drivers had to bribe their way through checkpoints to ensure safe passage. There are reports of creative methods used to conceal shipments. The winery faced trouble exporting its wine because some groups opposed alcohol. In one case, a shipment was stopped at a checkpoint and destroyed. The Saadé brothers have used various methods to export their wines safely. They often rely on shipping through Lebanon or using alternative routes, such as sea transport from Latakia's port. However, these methods involve significant logistical challenges and risks. The brothers reported losses due to failed shipments, but continued to find ways to maintain production despite these obstacles. Domaine de Bargylus continued to produce high-quality wines despite the challenges posed by the Syrian civil war. In 2010, red wine, a blend of Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Merlot, received positive reviews from critics for its rich flavors. The story of Domaine de Bargylus is remarkable because it's a luxury wine made in a war zone. This unique background makes it particularly interesting to sommeliers and wine enthusiasts who appreciate both its taste and its extraordinary story. Bargylus wines are served at high-end restaurants around the world. For example, they might be featured on menus alongside fine cuisine in cities like London or Tokyo. People appreciate them not just for their complex flavors, but also for their resilience in being produced under such difficult conditions. Some experts note that wines from regions like Syria can have distinct flavor profiles influenced by their environment. Producing Domaine de Bargylus wines is significantly more expensive than typical French wines due to the challenging conditions in Syria. The vineyard requires armed guards for security, which adds to the cost. Shipping is also complex and costly. It involves smuggling methods that triple the usual expenses due to bribes and risks associated with navigating through conflict zones. Between 2012 and 2017, shelling destroyed a portion of the vines, further impacting production costs. Despite these challenges, a bottle of Bargylus wine typically retails for between $60 and $100. However, the Saadé brothers barely break even financially for their efforts. Sandro Saadé emphasizes that their motivation goes beyond financial gain. "We don't do this for money," he says. "We do it to prove Syria is still alive." This commitment reflects their dedication to preserving Syrian viticulture, despite the ongoing conflict. On August 4, 2020, just as the Saadés were preparing for harvest, a massive explosion at Beirut's port destroyed their office. The blast, which struck only 600 meters away, killed over 200 people and injured thousands. Their father, Johnny, was trapped under the rubble until Sandro pulled him out. Both of them badly hurt. Reaching safety was a struggle. It took them 45 minutes to carry Johnny down 9 flights of stairs before a passing car rushed them to the hospital. His injuries were severe. His legs were shattered and needed multiple surgeries. He remained in intensive care for 11 days and stayed in the hospital for nearly a month. The challenges had already been mounting. The COVID-19 pandemic forced their team to work remotely, making an already complicated process even harder. Despite everything, stopping wasn't an option. Even as their father recovered, the harvest had to continue. With no other choice, the brothers turned this hospital room into a temporary office, tasting grape samples there and giving instructions over Zoom. They knew it seemed unusual, but given the circumstances, they had to adapt. Through war, economic struggles, and now a disaster, they remained committed to keeping the vineyard running. They saw their ability to manage everything remotely as something valuable, something they could share with other winemakers facing challenges of their own. Walking away was never considered. They had spent decades building their vineyard and weren't going to stop now. Agriculture always came with risks, but giving up wasn't in their nature. Instead of slowing down, they continued expanding, acquiring more land and planting new vineyards, though without plans for large-scale operation. Their goal was never just to grow, it was to keep going, no matter what. In 2023, the Syrian civil war continued to make running the vineyard difficult. Karim and Sandro Saadé still manage everything from Beirut, just as they have since 2011, because it's too dangerous to return. Power outages are common, sometimes lasting for days, making operations even harder. Despite the struggles, they refuse to give up. For them, the vineyard was more than just a business. It was a symbol of resilience and hope for Syria. Karim believes it represents a part of their identity, saying that if they stop, people will only see Syria as a place of war and loss. Keeping the vineyard alive proves there's still life. Looking ahead, the brothers are working on new ideas. They've planted more vines and are experimenting with ancient Syrian grape varieties like Marawi and Merwa. They also dream of restoring Latakia's old Roman wine caves and opening them to tourists one day. Through it all, their goal remains the same: to protect Syria's winemaking heritage and keep its story alive, no matter the challenges. Now, Sandro hopes that one day, when war is over, they will share those wines with their team. Not just as a drink, but as a symbol of their survival. Bargylus is more than a drink. It's a rebellion. A middle finger to war, a testament to humans' refusal to surrender. When you sip it, you taste limestone soil, the Mediterranean sun, and the iron grit of people who dared to make this beauty in hell. So here's to Bargylus, the most dangerous wine ever made. May its story outlive the bombs. As of 2023, Bargylus produces around 45,000 bottles annually, with most of its production exported to Europe. The Syrian civil war? It continues. But so does the wine. If you had to fight against all odds to keep something meaningful alive, would you keep going or let it go? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, this is Explainer Girl signing off. Catch you next time. Cheers!